Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome back. I'm Jeannie and we're going to do a simple but super cute French tip nail design. I've been so busy lately that I appreciate any shortcut I could get. And these XCoat tips from BTArtBox, Box, these are the French tip nails. These are one of my favorite shortcuts because I don't have to fight with trying to create my own French tips, making them all even, perfecting like the straight lines. Sometimes it's a struggle. So BTArtBox Box was kind enough to send me these tips, and I'm so grateful because it just makes my life so much easier. But of course, we're going to zhuzh it up a little bit and do some really cute nail designs on top of it just to make it pop a little bit more. And spoiler alert, I am obsessed with the way this set turned out. So I'm going to show you what you get in this set, how I apply these tips, and then we'll do some cute nail art. So these are the blue pastel French tips. I chose the shape short almond. They also come in short square or long square, I believe. And then the base color, I chose pink. I believe the other base color is brown. But the thing I love about these French tip sets when you get the colored ones is their gradient colors. So it's not just like one shade of blue each strip. So there's 5 strips. You get a different shade of blue. Same thing for like pink, purple, all the colors that they have is I love that you get different colors. So you can just choose one color. You can do a gradient. You can do multiple. So I end up using, I think, 4 of these. Don't ask me why I didn't do 5, but they're just so fun. And the French tips are just so beautiful. Of course, much better than I could ever paint myself. So I'm super excited to use these because I love all these shades of blue. I'm going to start out by sizing out my tips, and my apologies ahead of time for going a little bit in and out of frame. I just wasn't paying close enough attention because I was trying to get this set done. But when I'm sizing out the tips, I want to make sure that the tip is fitting my nail from sidewall to sidewall. So that's why you'll see me kind of like changing the angles, looking at all different angles, because I want to make sure that it's fitting my entire nail bed, that I don't see like any gaps or anything like that sometimes, which in my case, it is for some of the nails where I'll be in between sizes. So one size will be just a little bit too small, but the next size up will be a little bit too large. So you always want to size up if that's the case, if you're in between sizes. And then you can do a little bit of filing to customize, which I'll show you as well. Because if your tip is too small, that could cause pop-offs, which you don't want to happen because you don't want to damage your natural nails. So make sure that if you're in between sizes that you're sizing up. And these are really easy to customize, which you'll see because I like to customize the tips that I wear anyway. So I'm going in kind of random order. I don't even know why I chose the order I did, but regardless, I'm just making sure that I've got the tips sized out, that they are covering my entire nail, especially because like my nail beds are weird. They're like probably about a medium length. They're not super short, but they're not long. But I want to make sure, especially with short almonds, that they're going to fit, that I don't have any overhang. So once I've got my tip size out, the first thing I like to do is the little tabs that are at the free edge where they attach to the strip. I like to go ahead and file those off. You can clip them, but I find that even when I clip them off with like some cuticle nippers, that I still kind of have like sharp edges. So I end up filing them anyway. So I figure I might as well just file them just because they file super easily. So I'm going to remove that dust, and then I'm going to check the fit at my cuticle area, because not only do I want to make sure that it's fitting sidewall to sidewall, I want to make sure that it's fitting my cuticle area as well, because my cuticle area is like a little bit more rounded on most of my nails. So a lot of times with like full coverage tips, these Xcoat tips, I like to round them a little bit more just to make sure they fit snug. I didn't need much work on the pinky, but I did round it a little bit. And I feel like that's like the biggest tip I would say whenever you're working with tips is don't be afraid to customize it. I feel like it's just low effort, but it makes such a huge difference. If you just do a little bit of filing to customize it to fit your nail beds, the shape of your cuticle area, it just looks so clean and so nice that I think it's worth the little extra time to do. If you do decide to do some customizing by filing, just take your time and go slow and only do a little bit at a time. These tips are super easy to file, which means it's super easy to overfile as well, which isn't a good thing. So you could always file a little bit more off, but once you file it off, it's gone. So if you overfile, you'd have to start over with a new tip. So I always like to go like a little bit on one side, a little bit on the next side, check the fit. So I'm constantly going back and forth, making sure that I've got the fit I want it and that I'm not over filing. For most of my nails, it's really just rounding out the cuticle area. There are some fingers where I may file the sides just a little bit, but really it's about rounding out that cuticle area so it fits really snug, so it actually matches my cuticle area so that it looks as natural as possible. So that's pretty easy, but my thumb is really my problem finger. It always gives me trouble that I never really find tips that fit my thumb well because my thumb has my longest nail bed. So especially when I'm wearing like short almonds, I always end up having to size up and then file down because if I wear like the tip size that fits my nail bed on my thumb, it actually tapers where my nail bed still is. So then it doesn't actually fit. So I have to size up to make sure that it doesn't taper too soon. So it's always giving me problems. But this is like something that I know that I always have to work a little bit more on my thumb, that I have to size up and then file down to make it fit. It's really only the short almonds where I have this problem, but I just love short almonds, so it's not really a big deal to me, and I feel like it's the better the options because the short squares are a little bit too short for me. I feel like the long squares would probably be a little bit too long than I like, but I think a couple months ago, maybe, they recently released some sets with different lengths and sizes. So I think some of the sets now have medium almond, so now I'm really eager to try those. So now I'm going to start working on my thumbnail, which we know requires the most amount of work because I did have to size up one size in order for it to fit my nail bed. But I always like to start with removing that little tab at the free edge. So once I've got that removed, I'm just going to quickly check the fit again to kind of get an idea of where I need to file. And sorry, I'm in and out of frame, but I'm going to file a little bit on each side at a time. I don't want to just only work on one side because that could mess up the fit a little bit. So I'm going to switch from side to side, checking the fit in between. And the other thing I'll mention is because of the shape of these, because these are almond, so they're tapering, I can't just file like straight down on each side. I'm also going to kind of adjust the tapering because I don't want it to look like straight at the free edge and then like this sharp curve where it starts tapering. I want it to look a little bit more natural. So that's why I have to be really careful because not only do I want to make sure that I'm not over filing, I want to make sure that I'm not messing up that almond shape because I really love the shape of these tips. So I want to make sure that I'm maintaining it. And in order to maintain it, I do have to adjust a little bit. So as I'm sizing down at the sidewalls, I'm also adjusting that tapering at the almond area. I hope that makes sense. I left this all real time so you could see just how quick it is to customize your tips. So I did this all in under 5 minutes. So now we're going to get into the tip application. So I will be using my BTArtBox Box glue gel to adhere the tips. So I'm going to apply a thin layer of that glue gel on the underside of the tips, and I'm going to apply it anywhere where it's going to meet my natural nail bed. So once I apply that thin layer, the excess gel that's on the brush, I'm going to scrape it at the cuticle area. So it takes a little trial and error to know how much gel you're going to need. And then to apply it, I start at a 45-degree angle at my cuticle area, and then I'll start pushing downwards towards my free edge. I'm watching that gel flow, and once it hits my free edge, I'm going to go ahead and flash cure it in this little flash cure lamp. So I usually flash cure it for about 10 to 15 seconds just so it'll stay put. And then I will do the rest of my nails the same way. And then once I'm done with all my nails, that's when I'll give it a full cure in my big lamp for 60 seconds. But it's nice to have the little flash cure lamp just to hold the nails in place so that you don't have to like fully cure after each nail and take more time. The shape of your nail beds, whether they're flat or curvy, will determine how much glue gel you need. For my ring finger, it's my flattest nail. So you can see here as I was trying, I didn't have enough gel and I didn't want to force it down. Like I could tell as I was pushing down that the glue gel wasn't going to meet my free edge. If I just mashed it down and cured it anyway, that would cause it to pop off because of all that pressure. So instead, I removed it. I applied more glue gel to the tip and then I reapplied it and now I'm flash curing it. So make sure that you're not applying too much pressure because yes, it'll stay in the meantime, but it's going to pop off as like that pressure is like released. So make sure that you're not pressing too hard. Just apply more glue gel. That's what it's there for, to fill that gap between the apex of the tip and your natural nail bed. I do also want to mention that for this set, I skipped any nail prep, but that's because I'm wearing a layer of peel base on my natural nails. So unfortunately, I won't be wearing these tips for a long time, which is why I skipped the prep. But if you're doing these tips and you do want longevity, you do want to wear these for a couple weeks, make sure you're taking the proper prep steps so that you're pushing back your cuticles, removing any invisible cuticle, dehydrating your nails. I also highly recommend that you etch the inside of the tips using like your sanding band, or you could use something that just like scratches the surface on the inside of the tips, and that helps them adhere better. Even though they're matte tips, they're matte on the inside, I do find still that, at least for me, I feel like they need to be etched on the inside because I feel like the matte is also kind of smooth. So, just something I wanted to mention as well. You could also chemically etch your tips. Like I know Après has their Gel X Prep that works really well, or you could use some acetone and a brush you don't really care for and scrub the inside of your tips to etch it, whatever your preference. But after I applied all my tips, I went ahead and cured my hand in my big lamp for a full 60 seconds just to cure the gel all the way through. And so now I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup. I just had just a little bit of spillage on some of the nails, not a lot, so I'm just taking my e-file and my mini sanding band, and I'm just going around the cuticle area and sidewalls to remove any of that spillage, as well as I want to blend it in at the cuticle area a little bit more just to make sure that it looks natural. When you're filing, if you choose to do this step, make sure that you're not going over the entire surface of the tip because you could easily remove the French tip design. So if you're going to do any filing on the surface, make sure it's only on the nail bed area and not in the French tip area, because that would kind of defeat the purpose of using these tips. I went ahead and removed the dust from my filing with some isopropyl alcohol and a lint-free wipe. So now we're ready to get into the nail art, and I'm super excited because typically when I do nail art, I try to do like a cohesive theme on all my nails, like whether it's like fruit themed or floral or whatever the case may be. But this one was really fun because I decided to do like not really a theme. So each nail is different, and I just like went on like a Google and Pinterest search, and I found like nail designs that I really liked, and I just picked like one design for each nail. So it's not really cohesive in a design perspective, but it's cohesive in like a color perspective. And even though it's not typically what I do, I love the way this turned out. So I didn't have a pastel blue, so I'm just making my own pastel blue. So I've got my dot of my blue liner. This is the blue from, I believe, Manny Boss. And so on the second dot, I did a dot of that blue, and then I'm adding in some white, and I'm mixing that together to make my own like custom pastel blue because I wanted different shades of blue. Now for my index finger, I decided to do just some dots up the nail starting at my free edge. So the lowest dot at my free edge is the larger dot. So I'm using the larger end of my dotting tool. And then for the dots going above that, I'd use the smaller end of my dotting tool just to make it a little bit smaller. I I'm not sure. This is probably like my least favorite nail. I'm not sure if I should have like made the middle line of dots the tallest and made the lines next to it shorter, or if I should have done a gradient of colors. I'm not sure. There was something about it that was bugging me. Like, I think it's cute, but there's something about it that still seemed off to me. So I don't know. Let me know what I could have done to make this nail a little bit better, because I don't know. I don't know. I can't figure it out. Let me know. And once I'm happy enough with the design, I'm going to flash cure it using my little flash cure lamp, just because when I move on to my other nails, I don't want to accidentally bump this and have to redo it. I also decided to do some blooming gel nail art, so I pulled out my blooming gel. This one is from XCoatTips. This is a HEMA-free formula, and I've been really loving blooming gel lately, so don't be surprised if you see more nail sets using blooming gel from me, just because I'm having so much fun with it. So for this set, I actually ended up using it on my middle finger, pinky, and thumb because I was having so much fun with it. So when I apply my blooming gel, I apply about a medium consistency to my nails. I don't want it too thin because I want to make sure that it spreads my gel art, but I don't want it too thick to where it's going to run on me and get on my skin. So I do about a medium consistency. After I apply that layer, I'm not going to cure it. I'm going to leave it wet. And that's when I'm going to apply like any gel color I want. So I'm dipping my dotting tool into that lighter blue that I created, and I'm going to do sort of like a flower design. So I'm just doing like 5 dots in a circle on my nail. And then you can see as I'm putting those dots on the nail, they're starting to spread, they're starting to bloom. And you can use gel base for this, but it doesn't work as well. I feel like you don't get as good of spread with gel base. I don't know what the difference is, but blooming gel just works so much better. But in a pinch, yes, you could use gel base. So once that's spread the way I want it, I'm just taking that darker blue and doing a dot in the center of those petals. I'm going to let that spread for a little bit. And then once you're happy with that design, you want to go ahead and cure it. That's going to stop the spread. So depending on like how quickly or how slowly it's spreading is going to determine like when you want to cure it. But once you're happy with that design, make sure you quickly cure it to stop that design from spreading, because there have been times where I've used blooming gel, waited too long, and then it becomes like a little too messy. It becomes like a little too spread than what I wanted. So I'm really careful and make sure that I watch my design, and then as soon as I'm happy with that, I just flash cure it to freeze it in place. After I finished with my nail art on all 5 nails, I went ahead and cured my hand for a full 60 seconds in my big lamp just to make sure everything was fully cured. So now I'm going to go ahead and top my nail art using some BTArtBox Box Builder Gel. Now they do recommend that after you apply their XCoat tips to apply a layer of the builder gel for some reinforced strength. But really, I feel like these tips don't need it. Like I'm pretty rough on my hands and I can get away with wearing these tips without the builder gel. But if you're even rougher, that may be recommended. But the reason I decided to do it for this set is because I did nail art on top of the tips. So now I have texture to my nails, which does bug me. So builder gel is a bit thicker. So it's going to kind of smooth out my nail to where like you can't feel where I did that additional nail art. So that's why I like to use it on this set. So I'm applying about a medium consistency of that builder gel to all my nails. I want to make sure that it's covering up that nail art to where my nails are smooth. And then I'll give my hand a full cure in my big lamp for 60 seconds. Builder gel does cure with a tacky inhibition layer, so instead of wiping that off, I'm going to go ahead and apply my gel top coat on top of that, so I don't need a layer of gel base. So I'm applying a thin, even layer of the gel top coat to all my nails. I also want to make sure that I'm capping my free edge, and then I'll cure my nails for a full 60 seconds. And as always, I'm going to finish off my nail set by rehydrating my cuticles. I've got my Scales of Mermaid Cuticle Balm. This is one of the newest addition scents to the main line. This is View Life Like Monet from the Happy Accidents collection. There's also Etoile Go. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. I can't speak French. I'm sure you can tell. I took Spanish in high school and college. But these two scents are so amazing. I think you're going to love them. And if you do any shopping, you can always use my affiliate code Genie10 to save 10% off your orders and support me. So that pretty much wraps up today's video. And while this isn't my typical nail set, I'm super glad I did it because I love the way it turned out. And I especially love how quick and simple this was to do. I think probably it's a tie between my middle finger and ring finger as my favorite nails, but let me know down below in the comments which design you like best because I'm curious to see what you prefer. So I hope this video was helpful and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. It lets me know to continue creating content like this. And it also helps YouTube recommend me to others, which helps grow my channel. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I upload content every Monday and Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.